Lena Dorsey didn't believe in fate, but standing barefoot in a nearly empty Manhattan street at midnight, clutching a broken heel and staring at the glowing red neon sign of an all-night restaurant, she figured the universe owed her at least a grilled cheese. Her shift at the hotel had run 2 hours late. She'd missed the last bus, twisted her ankle in a sidewalk grate, and had exactly $26 left in her wallet. But the second she stepped through the tall glass doors of Velvet Spoon, the warm scent of basil and butter wrapped around her like a promise. Inside, the place was nearly empty, just a bored-looking waiter checking his phone and a man seated in the farthest booth, his face half lit in the dim glow of a brass chandelier, effortlessly handsome in a dark coat, a half-eaten steak in front of him. He looked up when the bell above the door jingled. Lena didn't notice him. She was too focused on not limping and whether she could afford fries and a grilled cheese. She sat at the counter, eased off her broken heel and let out a breath. The man watched her, not in a creepy way, just intrigued. She ordered the cheapest thing on the menu and winced when the waiter read back the total. "Actually, just water," she said, cheeks burning. The man stood, walked over. "Add the grilled cheese and fries and a slice of that pie." Lena blinked up at him. He had storm gray eyes, a clean jawline, and that magnetic energy of someone who always got what they wanted. "You don't have to do that." He slid into the stool beside her. "I know," he said, "but I want to." She narrowed her eyes. "Are you trying to flirt with me?" He grinned. "If I was, would it be working?" "No," he laughed. "Well, I'm Archer Nolan, and I'm here every Friday night, midnight steak and solitude." "Lena Dorsey," she said, still suspicious. "And I don't do strangers buying me food." "Good thing I'm not a stranger anymore." The waiter returned with her food, and Lena had never been so grateful or so stubborn at once. She took a bite, trying not to sigh with pleasure. Archer watched her like she was more interesting than the Manhattan skyline. "Rough night, you could say that." He didn't push, just sipped his wine and nodded. They ate in silence for a bit, not the awkward type, but the kind that settles in when two people are oddly comfortable. After a while, Lena spoke. "Why are you here alone?" Archer leaned back. "I like quiet places at odd hours. People are more real then." "You think I'm real?" He met her eyes. "I think you're the most real thing that's walked into this place in a long time." Lena rolled her eyes but blushed anyway. "You're full of it." "Only a little." After the meal, Archer paid. Lena protested, but he waved it off. "It's just dinner." She hesitated outside, the city humming around them. "Thanks for the food and the company." "Come next Friday," he said. "Same time, I'll save you a seat." Lena laughed. "You assume I'll be free." "I do." And somehow she was. The next Friday she showed up again, this time with both shoes intact. Archer was already there, 2 plates in front of him, like he'd known she'd say yes over the next few weeks. It became a ritual. Midnight dinners, real conversations, no expectations. Lena never asked what he did for work, and he never asked why she always looked half exhausted. But one night, she came in soaked from the rain, drenched in hotel uniform, and he noticed the blister on her heel and the dark smudges under her eyes. "Lena," he said gently, "what do you do?" She shrugged. "Housekeeping at the Fairmont, 6 days a week." He was quiet. "That's a lot." "You mean it's not glamorous?" she teased. "I mean it's impressive." She tilted her head. "And what do you do, Archer Nolan?" For a moment he hesitated. Then he said, "I run an investment firm." She snorted. "So you're one of those finance guys?" He grinned. "One of the boring ones, yeah." She didn't press and he didn't offer more. But the next week, when she showed up, there was a small box on the table. "I didn't get you much," Archer said casually. "Just thought of you when I saw it." Inside was a pair of black ballet flats, simple, elegant, not cheap. Lena stared at them. "Archer?" "They looked comfortable," she swallowed. "I can't accept this." "Why not?" "Because they probably cost more than my rent." He leaned forward. "Then let me give you something that doesn't hurt to wear." She stared at him. "Are you trying to spoil me?" He shrugged. "Maybe." She took the shoes. "Fine. But only because my feet are killing me." He watched her slip them on like it mattered. That night he walked her home. It wasn't far, just a tiny fourth-floor walk-up with creaky stairs and an old elevator that hadn't worked since 2002. She paused at her door. "Thanks." "For the shoes." "Lena," he said, his voice softer now. "I like seeing you," she smiled. "I like seeing you too." He stepped closer. "I want to take you somewhere, not just the diner." She raised a brow. "Like a real date." "Yeah, a real one, fancy dinner, dress, the works." She hesitated. "I don't have anything fancy." "I'll take care of it." She looked up at him. "Why me?" He didn't even flinch. "Because I've been around a lot of people who say the right things and mean none of them, but you're different, and I can't stop thinking about you." Lena's heart thudded. "Okay," she whispered. "One fancy dinner." But what she didn't know, what she couldn't have known, was that Archer Nolan wasn't just some finance guy. He was Archer Nolan, tech billionaire, founder of Nolan Edge Capital, one of the richest men in Manhattan. And he had just fallen, hard, for the girl who came in at midnight wearing a broken heel and eyes full of fire. Lena pressed her hands against the silky fabric of the dress hanging in her closet, still not entirely convinced it was really hers. A week ago, Archer had sent it to her apartment, no note, no explanation, just a sleek black garment bag delivered by a man in a tailored suit who addressed her by name and disappeared before she could ask a single question. The tag had been discreetly clipped inside, no price, only the designer's name stitched in gold thread. She tried to return it, called the number on the delivery slip, and ended up on the line with someone named Elise, who politely informed her the item was non-returnable and already paid for. Now, Lena stood in front of the mirror in her small bathroom, trying to figure out how to make her hair behave. She'd never worn anything that felt this expensive. The way the satin moved when she turned made it look like it belonged in a movie, not on a girl used to scrubbing bathrooms at the Fairmont. When she stepped out of her building, Archer was already waiting by the curb. But instead of his usual dark coat and casual confidence, he was dressed in a sharply cut navy suit, no tie, top buttons undone, and a watch that glinted with quiet power. Beside him, a black car idled sleek, silent, clearly high-end. "You look." His voice trailed off as he stepped forward. "I don't have a word for it, not one that does you justice." Lena blinked. "You rented a car," his mouth curved. "No, it's mine." She hesitated. "Archer, this feels like a lot." He opened the door for her. "That's the idea." The car ride took them uptown, past places Lena had only ever seen through the windows of the bus. Doormen in long coats, awnings with gold stitching, buildings that didn't look like anything as ordinary as an apartment complex. Archer didn't say much, but his hand rested lightly on her knee, anchoring her to the moment. They pulled up to a restaurant that didn't have a sign, just polished stone walls and a single valet waiting beneath a column of heat lamps. Inside, the space glittered with chandeliers and subtle music. The maitre d' greeted Archer by name and led them to a private table tucked against a window overlooking the city. Lena leaned closer. "How do they know you?" "They've seen me before." "You've brought other women here," his gaze locked on hers. "No, only business." "You're the first I've brought for dinner." She sat back. "So what kind of business are you in exactly?" He studied her for a moment, then exhaled. "My family owned a chain of home improvement stores. I used the buyout money to start a tech investment firm." "I've been lucky." "Lucky," she repeated, eyebrows raised. "Very lucky and very early to the game." She nodded slowly. "So, you're not just comfortable, you're one of those people." He didn't flinch. "I don't care about the number. I care about how people treat each other when they think no one's watching. That's why I like the diner." The waiter arrived with a bottle of wine Lena couldn't pronounce. Archer ordered for both of them without glancing at the menu, then turned his attention back to her like the rest of the room didn't exist. "You're not overwhelmed, are you?" She swirled the wine, pretending she belonged. "Only slightly. I can tone it down." "Don't," she said, surprising herself. "I want to see it, all of it, the world you live in." He smiled, but it was softer than before. "Deal." The food arrived in small, beautiful portions that looked like art. Lena asked about each dish and Archer explained with a sort of quiet pride, never condescending, never showing off. When the dessert came something with sponge sugar and lavender mousse, she leaned forward. So why me? Out of everyone you could take here. His fingers brushed the rim of his glass. Because you don't care about any of this. You're wrong, I care, I just don't need it to know who I am. Exactly. They left the restaurant an hour later, the night colder now, the sky clear. Archer laced his fingers through hers as they walked, not toward the car, but along the avenue. You didn't let the driver take us home, she asked. I wanted to stretch this out. Lena looked up at him. You're not what I expected. I hope not. They reached a small park with wrought iron gates. Inside, the trees were laced with fairy lights and an older couple danced slowly to music playing from a nearby bench. I used to come here when I needed to think, Archer said, before everything got loud. Lena watched the couple sway. You miss quiet? Sometimes. But then I think maybe it's not about quiet, maybe it's about who you're standing next to. She didn't say anything, her heart was too full. He turned to her. Come with me this weekend, she blinked. Where? Upstate, my house there, it's peaceful, no staff, just me and woods. And a fireplace. I don't even have a coat for that. I'll get you one, she shook her head. You can't buy your way into this. I'm not trying to, I'm asking. She hesitated. I don't know. Then let me change your mind. He kissed her, then not tentative, not rushed, just steady and sure, like he'd been waiting for the right moment. And when he pulled back, Lena didn't breathe for a second. Okay, she whispered. He stepped back. I'll pick you up Friday. As he walked her home, Lena glanced at him under the streetlights. She still wasn't sure what this was, but she felt it pressing against her ribs, this strange, persistent ache that hadn't been there before. And somewhere deep down, she knew this wasn't just dinner anymore. The drive north began in silence. Archer didn't put on music. Lena didn't ask for it. The city slowly peeled away behind them, replaced by wide roads flanked by tall pines and the occasional stretch of frozen lake. The black SUV cut through the landscape like it belonged there, all quiet power and precision. Lena leaned her head against the window, watching the snow begin to gather on the edges of the windshield. Despite the coat Archer had given her soft gray wool, double-breasted, and tailored within an inch of its life, she couldn't shake the strange warmth pooling in her chest. Not from the heat vents. From him. You've been quiet, he said, eyes still on the road. I'm still trying to figure out if I'm in a dream or a very elaborate kidnapping. He let out a low laugh. If I was kidnapping you, I wouldn't have let you bring that hideous duffel bag. It's not hideous. It's practical. It's held together with duct tape. It has character, he glanced at her. You have character. She turned back to the window before he could see her smile. They arrived just before dusk. The house wasn't a house. It was a modern cathedral of glass and stone set into a hillside, the kind of place that looked like it was designed by someone who only saw their family on holidays. But inside, it surprised her. There were blankets draped over armchairs. One of the fireplaces was already lit. A mug sat on the kitchen counter, half full, like someone had left it there mid-thought. You live here? She asked, stepping over the threshold. Sometimes, Archer replied, setting her bag down. When I need to breathe, he gave her a quick tour. The rooms were minimalist but warm, filled with soft textures and deep wood tones. The upstairs held a sprawling bedroom with floor-to-ceiling windows that overlooked the forest. A rust-colored dog bed sat in the corner, empty. You had a dog, he paused. Yeah, Max. He was 13. Lena nodded once. I'm sorry. He didn't respond for a moment, then he'd have loved you. That night they cooked together, not takeout, not catered, real food. Archer surprised her with actual knife skills and the ability to sear chicken without burning it. They drank wine in the kitchen, barefoot, dancing to nothing and everything. Later they settled on the couch. A fire crackled. The world felt far away. Tell me something no one knows, Archer said, voice low. Lena traced a pattern on the blanket between them. I almost didn't graduate high school, he turned toward her. What happened? My mom got sick. I was working nights to pay for her meds. I missed too many days. A teacher pulled strings to let me do makeup work. Did she make it? No, Lena said. But she saw me walk the stage. He didn't say sorry, he just reached over and took her hand. Your turn, she said. He hesitated. I've never been in love, Lena blinked. Never, not even close. She studied him. Why not? He looked into the fire. I built a life where no one could get close enough to matter. And now, I'm trying to unbuild it. They didn't kiss that night. They didn't need to. The air between them pulsed with something heavier. Older, more real than anything she'd expected to feel for a man she'd met over a grilled cheese sandwich. The next morning, Lena woke alone. She found Archer outside, chopping firewood in a thermal shirt and jeans, snow dusting his shoulders. His breath fogged the air as he worked, muscles moving with quiet focus. You don't have someone who does that for you, she called out. He looked up. I could. But this reminds me I'm not invincible. They spent the day walking through the woods, her boots crunching through snow, his gloved hand always near hers. He showed her the frozen pond, the old treehouse he'd built with his brother, the rusted tire swing that still creaked in the wind. That night, they sat across from each other at the dinner table again, this time with glowing candles and roasted vegetables that had somehow come from somewhere despite the snow. Lena toyed with her fork. You know this isn't real, right? He tilted his head. What do you mean, this weekend? This house, it's a dream, but I don't live in dreams. I'm not asking you to. Then what are you asking? His expression shifted, something fierce and tender all at once. I'm asking you to let me in. Just enough to see if this is more than timing. And what if it's not? Then I'll know I didn't let it pass me by. She leaned back. You're used to getting what you want. I'm used to people pretending they don't care when what they really want is everything. And what do you want? You. Without the walls. She stood, walked to the window. Snow swept across the deck outside, soft and endless. If I do this, she said, not turning around, you don't get to play games. I don't play games, Lena. She looked over her shoulder. No secrets? He didn't answer right away. Then there's one. She turned fully. What is it? He stood slowly, walking toward her. The night we met, I wasn't just at the diner for solitude. I'd walked out of a meeting with my board. They wanted to push a merger I didn't believe in. I fired 2 people. I was angry. Empty. And then you walked in, barefoot, with fire in your eyes and no idea who I was. He stopped in front of her. And for the first time in a long time, I wanted something I couldn't buy. Lena's chest tightened. I don't know if I can be what you want. I don't want perfect. I want real. She reached out, fingers brushing his. Then don't disappear when it gets complicated. I won't. And this time when he kissed her, it wasn't careful, it was desperate. Honest. The kind of kiss that says I've found something I never expected to want, snow piled higher outside. The fire burned lower. And somewhere in the middle of all of it, Lena realized she wasn't afraid anymore. The city was louder than Lena remembered. After 3 quiet days in Archer's upstate retreat, the rhythm of Manhattan felt like a slap cars honking, scaffolding clanging, voices colliding on the sidewalk. But beneath the noise, something had shifted. She wasn't the same woman who used to dread the sunrise after long hotel shifts. She'd seen another world and a side of herself she didn't know was still alive. She stepped into the hotel's staff entrance, her flats clicking against the linoleum. No one commented on the new coat she wore or the subtle glow in her expression. But she felt it how she stood straighter, how her nerves buzzed not from exhaustion but from anticipation. Archer hadn't contacted her since they returned. He'd kissed her at her door, quiet and sure, then told her he had meetings stacked for the next few days. She hadn't expected him to disappear completely, not that she was waiting. She had towels to fold and carts to restock. 2 days passed with no word. Then Friday night arrived. She walked into the Velvet Spoon just after midnight, her heart thudding as the bell above the door gave its single familiar chime. The seat by the far booth was empty. She waited an hour. He didn't come. She left without ordering. The next morning she stepped out of her building to find a car waiting, sleek, glossy, Same driver as before, expression unreadable. Lena crossed her arms. He sent you? Yes, Miss Dorsey. She didn't move. Where are we going? I was instructed to take you to Fifth Avenue. Why? He held out a small envelope. Inside was a note, simple, handwritten in block letters. You asked me not to run when things got complicated. I'm not running, but I need you to see something first. She climbed in. The drive took them to a building she'd passed 100 times but never entered. Tall, reflective, the kind of place that screamed exclusivity even from the sidewalk. The driver opened her door with a nod and led her through a private entrance. An elevator waited with no buttons, already summoned. It opened into a vast gallery space. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the skyline, but what caught her breath were the photographs lining the walls, dozens of them, all black and white, all of the city. But not the polished city. The real one, fire escapes, kids playing in open hydrants. A woman waiting at a bus stop in the rain, barefoot, heels dangling from her fingers. Lena stepped closer. It was her. The photo was from the night they met. She turned slowly, scanning the room. More images followed her reflection in the diner window, her laughing mid-bite, her walking away into the night, shoulders defiant. You took these? Her voice echoed. Yes. Archer's voice came from behind her. They're part of a private collection. I never intended to show them. But I needed you to see them before I said anything else. She turned. Why? Because I need you to understand what happened to me. She crossed her arms. You disappeared. I didn't. He stepped closer. I was finishing something. Something I started the night I met you. She looked back at the photo. You stalked me. No. His jaw tightened. The camera's automated. It's mounted outside the restaurant. It picks up anything unusual. I review the footage once a week. That night I saw you, then I saw you again, and again. I started saving the stills. At first I didn't know why. And now I know I was falling for someone before I even spoke to her. Lena stared at him. You could have told me this sooner. I was afraid you'd think I was trying to own your story. Or you, and you're not. No, he stepped forward. I'm trying to be in it. She didn't answer right away. The silence stretched. Then she said, You've never said it out loud. He swallowed. I'm in love with you. She blinked once. Okay, that's all you've got. Give me a second, she said, laughing under her breath. I just found out you've been curating a gallery of me without my knowledge. It's not a gallery, it's a confession in pictures, because I didn't know how to speak it. She looked around again. They're beautiful. You're beautiful, she faced him. And what now? I want to build something with you, not just weekends and dinners. A life. But I know you're still standing in both worlds. I won't pull you out of yours. I'll wait until you walk toward mine. I'm not a project. You're not. You're a person, one I respect, one I need. Lena's chest ached. I don't want to lose myself. Then let me meet you where you are, she exhaled. What would that even look like? I submitted a proposal to the Fairmont board yesterday. A full renovation of the staff quarters, a raised structure, new uniforms, the kind of change that'll mean something. You did that for me. No, I did it because I should have done it years ago. But you reminded me why it matters. She stepped into him then, slowly, deliberately. You're kind of a mess. So are you, she laughed. And you're still rich, undeniably, and still a little full of yourself. Only when I'm right. She touched his chest. You want me to say it? I want you to mean it. I do. Her voice softened. I'm in love with you. He pulled her closer, eyes searching hers like he still didn't believe it. Say it again, she smiled. I love you, Archer Nolan. He kissed her then, deep and anchoring, the kind of kiss that rewrote endings and rewired hearts. The kind that didn't ask questions, just answered them. Weeks passed. Lena didn't quit her job. She didn't need to. The hotel changed slowly but meaningfully. She picked up photography again, something she'd abandoned years ago. Archer gave her space, but never distance, and every Friday night without fail they met at the Velvet Spoon, same booth. Same time, no fanfare, just grilled cheese and each other. Because some love stories don't start with fairy tales. They begin with a broken heel, a half smile, and a billionaire who didn't know he needed saving until the girl who didn't believe in fate walked through the door. Lena sat cross-legged on the floor of Archer's downtown penthouse, surrounded by cardboard boxes, open portfolios, and a trail of curled photo prints. The space around her was all clean lines and glass, but today it smelled like ginger tea and old ink, thanks to the stack of vintage negatives she was sorting through. Outside, the city glimmered in the afternoon haze, but Lena's attention was fixed on the tiny image in her hand, a candid shot of a girl leaning against a subway pole, her eyes closed, lost in music. Archer walked in from the adjacent room, sleeves rolled to his elbows, a paint-splattered wood easel under one arm. "You're completely ignoring the fact that I made you lunch." She tilted her head. "Did you cook it or order it? That's irrelevant." She grinned and held up the photo. "Look at this. She's not posing. She's not even aware of the camera. That's the kind of honesty I want in the show." He crouched beside her and studied the image. "She looks like she's dreaming." "She is." Lena set it aside gently. "That's what makes it work." He brushed a smudge of graphite off her cheek with his thumb. "You found your rhythm again. I think I'm building something better than what I had before." "You are." She looked up at him. "You know, when I imagined being in love, I never thought it would look like this. Box cutters and photo paper and someone who remembers how I take my tea." He sat beside her. "I used to think love was going to be a negotiation, a checklist. And now I know it's a choice, every day. It's asking someone what they need and actually staying to hear the answer." Lena leaned against him, her head resting on his shoulder. "I want to open the studio in the Lower East Side." He turned his head just enough to see her profile. "You're ready?" "I am." "There's a space next to the old bookstore on Delancey. It's small, but it has light and character. I can make it mine." He didn't hesitate. "Then let's get it. I'm not asking for your money, I know. I'm offering my support. You don't have to carry everything on your own anymore." She was quiet for a beat. "I'm still learning how to let you do that. You're already doing it." They stood together later that evening at the opening of Archer's new foundation gala, an event he'd organized not for tech or finance, but for artists whose work had gone unnoticed. The gallery was filled with pieces from creators. Lena had handpicked street photographers, sculptors, mixed media artists, all lit by soft gallery lights and attended by the kind of crowd that normally wouldn't give a second glance to anything without a luxury label. Lena wore a dress of her own, choosing this time simple, fitted navy silk with a low back and no jewelry. She didn't need embellishments anymore. She stood tall beside Archer as he introduced her to curators, critics, and investors. She didn't shrink. She didn't apologize. She belonged. Later that night, as the gala wound down and the last of the champagne flutes were cleared, she found Archer on the rooftop terrace, his coat draped over the railing. The city stretched beyond him, endless. He didn't turn when she stepped beside him. "You pulled it off," he said. "No," she corrected gently. "We did." He slid his arm around her waist. "You've changed everything." She leaned into him. "So have you." He looked down at her, the wind tugging at the strands of her hair. "I've been thinking. That's dangerous about us, still dangerous. I want to marry you." Lena blinked. "That's not remotely casual. I'm not trying to be casual." He turned fully now, both hands cradling her face. "You make me better, you challenge me, you see through me. And you make me want to stick around when things get hard. I don't care where we live, what name is on the building, or how we spend our days. I just want them with you. You're serious. I've never been more." She didn't cry. She didn't flinch. She just smiled, slow and real. "Then ask me properly." He dropped to one knee. The city didn't stop for them. Horns still honked far below. A helicopter buzzed past. The wind carried the scent of roasted chestnuts from a vendor somewhere down the block. But in that moment, everything else disappeared. "Lena Dorsey," Archer said, voice steady but soft. "Will you marry me?" She nodded, words caught in her throat. "Yes." He stood and kissed her, arms wrapped tight around her, her laughter pressed between them. It wasn't a spectacle, it wasn't a headline. No paparazzi, no press release, just love. Months later, they married in a converted greenhouse on the edge of the Hudson. Strings of lights hung over long tables, and the scent of lavender and wood smoke filled the air. There was no seating chart, no designer gown. Just Lena barefoot in a tea-length ivory dress, Archer in rolled sleeves and suspenders. The guests were the people who mattered: her two closest friends from the hotel, his assistant Elise, the woman from the diner who always gave them extra pie, and the artists whose work now filled studios around the city. They danced under the stars. They didn't rehearse their vows. They just spoke. "I didn't know what I was missing until you handed me a grilled cheese and didn't look away," Lena whispered. "And I didn't know I'd been asleep until you woke me up," Archer said. They built a life that didn't look like anyone else's. The studio on Delancey opened with a line around the block. Archer stepped back from his firm, took on only the clients he believed in, repurposed the rest of his energy into the foundation they ran together. They traveled sometimes, but they always came home. To the apartment that smelled faintly of lavender and film developer, to Friday nights at the Velvet Spoon, to each other. And every morning, Archer woke before her, made coffee, and kissed her shoulder as sunlight spilled across the sheets. Every morning, Lena opened her eyes, turned toward him, and smiled like she'd just remembered she'd fallen in love with her best decision. They didn't chase perfection. They just chose each other, again and again.